Hello everyone. Today we're going to be revising language and region, and the first thing I want you to do is to write down the first 5 things you remember about language and region. Pause the video and write them down. Do that now, please. Let's test the grey matter. Here is a word to unscramble. This is one of our theorists. Can you remember this theorist's surname? Pause the video, see if you can get it right. Here's a clue, we're getting closer. Have you got it yet? Pause the video. We're nearly there. Let's just move one letter. Not that one, though. Or that one. Try that one. Okay, we've got it right. Now, what did Joanna Thornborrow say about identity? Pause the video, please. Write down what you can remember. Then come back to me. Okay, today we're going to be revising region through looking at an exam question. This question here. Evaluate the idea that regional accents shape identity. Write that question down, please. Pause the video, write it down, come back to me. I'm going to be introducing 3 lines of argument I'm going to take with this, because often that'll be enough for your essays. 3 interesting points that you really want to make. So here is my essay plan. I'm going to reveal it bit by bit. And the first thing I want to write about is this, that close regional ties shape people's behaviour. What examples am I going to use? You can see there's a clue there. I've got Labov, I've got Cockney in there. Labov for Martha's Vineyard. My second point, let's think about dialect levelling. Dialect levelling is increased and despecified the regions. It means that regions are less specific. And look, if you look there, I've got a line between Cockney and talk about the relationship with. What do you think's there? It's EE, it's estuary English. So I'm going to be writing about estuary English. I'm going to be introducing you to some IPA symbols as well. I'm going to be looking briefly at some of the theoretical work by Wright, Milroy and Kurzweil, although Wright I've actually left out because I just didn't have time. So point 1, close regional ties shape behaviour, and point 2, dialect levelling has increased and despecified regions. Point 3, I'm going to argue that actually it's not region that shapes your identity. It's culture. I'm going to be exploring RP and MLE whilst I do that. So this is my plan. This plan took me about 10 minutes to put together, but maybe a bit more than that to research. It's slightly artificial, but this ideally would be a great plan for you to take into an exam situation. I'm going to now walk you through aspects of the plan. So, Joanna Thornborrow, actually what she said this. Pause the video and make a note, please. Okay, welcome back. So we've got what Joanna Thornborrow said, but it's not just Thornborrow. We can go back to the work we've just done on accentism and look at what Rob Drummond said. Rob Drummond, in his video that we watched the other day, said, identity is all reflected in the way we speak. And he gave a great example when he said, I perform my middle-aged middle-classness through the way I speak. I love that idea of language being a performance that we undertake. Now, I'm going to use Thornborrow and Drummond as my introduction about language shaping identity. Then I'm going to go into my first point of argument. And my first point of argument is a supportive comment to the statement, evaluate the idea that regional accents shape identity. I'm going to support it, first of all. I'm going to look at how close regional ties shape behaviour. I'm going to use 2 regional case studies to support this. Which 2 would you use? Pause the video, make your choice. Okay, welcome back. You'll probably know from seeing my plan the ones I'm going to use for close regional ties, shape and behaviour. And the first one I'm going to use is Labov, Martha's Vineyard. Pause the video and write down everything you can remember about Martha's Vineyard. Okay, I'll give you an overview on this. Martha's Vineyard, it's 1961, William Labov studying at Martha's Vineyard in America. It's a small island off the northeast coast, the coast of New England, often associated with tourists coming from New York. It has a permanent population of about 6,000, but gets 40,000 visitors every year. You'll remember from this study that the locals converge their accents to match the older fishermen locals in order to diverge from the tourists. Now, what specific feature did they change? Can you unscramble this word? Pause the video and try and work out what the feature of their talk was. It was, well done if you got it, it was their diphthongs. Now, what is a diphthong? It's two vowels in a single syllable. So they really elongated their vowel sounds in order to do that. A diphthong, two vowels in the same syllable. That's something you could write about. We could also focus on Cockney rhyming slang. So take a moment to make a note about Cockney rhyming slang and write down a few examples and think, what's going on within the language there? So Cockney rhyming slang, that is the feature we're dealing with here. And there's an awful lot of idiomatic phrases. These words are becoming metaphors now, aren't they? They're becoming metaphorical in their meaning, or idiomatic if they're overused. Why are they doing this though? So in Martha's Vineyard, the younger locals were trying to associate themselves more with the older locals, and in doing so diverge from the tourists. Well, Cockney rhyming slang, it's exclusive. It's excluding outsiders and only including the insiders. And of course, you may remember from your study, it was heavily linked with crime at the time, a way of actually making the police not be fully aware of what was going on. So there are two examples I could explore for that, because it really shaped their behaviour, these language features. The islanders chose to speak this way. The Cockneys choose to speak this way, and these decisions shape their language, shape their behaviour, and shape their identity. Right, I'm going on a second point now. We're going to talk about dialect levelling. Dialect levelling. Now what it's done is it made region a less specific identity factor. Region itself doesn't seem quite so important anymore. One of the most interesting and best case studies to use for this is Estuary English by David Rosewarne. Now, the reason Estuary English is so important is because it has spread away from just London to cover huge areas of not just the southeast, but even moving into the Midlands and the southwest too. Pause the video, make the notes you need to make. Okay, we are back. Now, this fourth bullet point there mentions glottal stops. Glottal stops. What other features of Estuary English can you remember? There was 4 other ones that we emphasised heavily. 5 features of Estuary English. What can you remember off the top of your head? Pause the video and then come back to me. Okay, welcome back. This is the IPA symbol for one of the features. Which feature do you think it is? Have a guess. Pause, have a guess. The answer is, it's TH fronting. So this symbol here, this egg with a line through it, is the th symbol. It's TH fronting. And we want to remember a few examples of the IPA if we possibly can. So how on earth are we going to remember that this egg here is TH fronting? Well, maybe we can focus on egg, theg, theg. It's the egg, theg. So if you can remember that, and remember that there's an egg shape here, that might help you. Theg. Say it to yourself. Theg. Which feature of Estuary English do you think this one is? This question mark here. Pause the video, have a guess. The answer is, it's the glottal stop. The glottal stop. How are you going to remember that this question mark here without the dot underneath is the glottal stop? Well, you could possibly say, what's a glottal stop? What's a glottal stop? What's a glottal stop? What's a glottal stop? You can ask the question over and over again. However it's going to put the symbol into your head, all the better. Now let's just remind ourselves of some of the theoretical stuff around dialect levelling. Dialect levelling is usually associated with both Milroy's study and Kurzweil's study. Milroy says it's really down to increased geographical mobility. Pause the video, make a note of what he says. Okay, welcome back. Kurzweil said this, and this is worth pausing and making notes about as well. One of the key things for him, if Milroy talks about increased mobility, Kurzweil talks about the breakdown of tight-knit working class communities. Pause the video, make the notes you need. Other things I could discuss when I'm talking about dialect levelling, I could talk a lot about Giles' accommodation theory and convergence, particularly upwards convergence, as people standardise their accents in order to speak to people from different groups. I could talk about Geordie, and the interesting thing about Geordie, as you can probably hear in my voice, I'm actually using standard English, but I'm speaking with a Geordie accent. Now, the phonology of Geordie is not changing hugely, but the dialect words, the concrete nouns are disappearing. Spuggy, spelk, clarts. Would you write those 3 words down, please, and their meanings? See how many you know. Do that now, please. The answer is spuggy is a sparrow, a spelk is a splinter. I can't even say a splinter, it's a spelk, isn't it? And clarts are mud. So you could focus on that. You could also focus possibly on pitmatic, because that's a really interesting one, but I'm just going to run out of time if I don't get cracking. So my third thing I'm going to talk about here is it's actually not regional, it's cultural. And I think a good place to start with this, what two cultural dialects would you use? Pause the video. What two would you use? Cultural dialects rather than regional ones. I bet you picked the same as me, because I picked RP, received pronunciation, coined by Daniel Jones and regarded as the most prestigious accent, often called Queen's English. And if we look at this picture here, this is Learn English with Lucy. Now this image is particularly interesting to me because it suggests that there's something else going on with RP. Not only that it's prestigious, but that also it's attractive. She's gone for a very deliberately provocative pose here, this YouTube English teacher. She's good minded. She got into a great discussion, a great debate with our own favourite Rob Drummond just a couple of weeks ago. It's worth looking up. Question for you. Do RP speakers H drop? What do you think? Yes or no? Hell no! Not in my house! RP speakers do not H drop. Make a note of that. Next question. What do you think this IPA symbol means? Pause the video. This A colon symbol is the long A, the long vowel, the, I would say, bath vowel. They would say bath vowel, and they are right to say bath vowel because this symbol here means R, the R sound. When A makes an R sound, bath. How are we going to remember that? We've got A colon is posh. A colon bath vowel. Oh, well, let's have a song. A colon in the bath, a colon in the bath. Aren't I talking posh? A colon in the bath. See if that helps you remember that one. Pause the video, have a practice singing it. Of course, for every positive though, there can be a counter negative, and Trudgill says this about RP speakers. I would like you please to pause the video and make notes. Okay, let's go on to our next case study. We're going to be looking here at MLE for our final one. So here are some MLE words, and you can look at the meanings and changes behind these. First question, do MLE speakers H drop? We know RP speakers don't H drop. Do MLE speakers? Hell no, blood. No, they don't. Sorry, that was awful. They don't H drop. So it's really interesting when you look at features how some that you'd expect to see, you don't actually see. So it's really getting to know your stuff about your accents. Kurzweil says this, and I think it's really fascinating. One of the mechanisms when people find themselves unable to make progress in life or discriminated against is to speak differently, to use that as an exclusionary strategy. You could explore how our MLE has become a cultural choice to be excluded from the accepted norm in society. And what is the accepted norm in society? Well, Dennis Freeborn's 3 views of English. He says this about the incorrectness view. Pause this and make a note, please. Okay, welcome back. So clearly RP is the prestige language. We've got some interesting things we could say there about how MLE has become marginalised, very much tied with ethnicity and black people being marginalised. Erin Carey, working with Rob Drummond in the lectures we've just had, said this, and I thought this is my favourite bit of the whole lecture. She said, members of less dominant groups are more likely to be criticised due to comparison with RP speakers. Absolutely right, isn't it? Okay, we've got loads there to be getting on with, haven't we? Loads of theory stuff. So I'm just going to finish you with this. Which theories have been most important to me in my plan? Well, pause the video and think, where would you move them? Okay, it's about identity, so I think Thornborrow needs to go quite high up. I mentioned Giles and accommodation, but I didn't do much with it. Did I do anything with the match guide test? I didn't even mention it. I also, I did a bit on prestige accents from Trudgill, had a little bit from Freeborn, but I'm going to go quite low. Milroy's dialect levelling is clearly going to have to go quite high up, isn't it? In fact, I might put dialect levelling as my top one here. So these are 8 theorists that you could use. You can make a note of all of these for language and dialect. I hope that's helped you with your study of language and dialect. That's everything from me.